Wow, didn't know Gladys was you know, controlling Zoom. Oh wait, I can't minimize. Oh no. That's annoying. Okay, hang on a second. Might have to do this way. Wait, if I can't, can I? Oh, I can do that though. Okay. Okay, cool. We're okay. I can't minimize while it's recording. What are you talking about?
No, it's assumed control.
Gladys has my computer. All right. Well, cool. All right. Hi everybody. I'm Ray from Maker Comet, and this is a special video. We are live with a really close friend of mine, Mike Goulding from the House on Camino, which was a haunted house project that we all worked on for many, many years. So I'm hoping that you enjoy this interview with us. And yeah, away we go. Hi, Mike.
Ray, always great to see you.
Always great to see you. This is awesome. Thank you so much for your time and agreeing to do this like very last minute.
No problem. It's that time of year. We got to do it.
Yeah, for sure. Cool, cool. Well, so House, just a little backstory. Like House on Camino was a two-car garage haunted house that we all worked on together. And you actually had been doing it for several years before we actually joined your team. So I'm hoping that you can tell us like a little bit of the backstory of House on Camino and how it got started.
Yeah, I'd love to. I was talking with my wife Camille, who started it with me. We started it at her mom's house. So my wife's birthday is on Halloween, and after years of pushing back on having a Halloween themed party, one year, probably about 2008, we're not entirely sure exactly when. Uh, she's finally like, you know what? I do want a Halloween party, but I don't want to do like a party party. Let's do like a little haunted house. And so, being who we are, little haunted house immediately turned into draping black plastic across her mom's garage with a hole cut for entrance and a hole cut for exit. The world's smallest little like tombstone, like cemetery setup in the middle. An animatronic witch we just like grabbed from Home Depot, um, that just barely worked. Like when you saw her,
I
she
remember
barely
the
worked.
witch.
She never worked better than when you saw her. It just came out of there just bad. And so then I was sitting in a chair with some recycled Halloween costume that our family friend Robert had put together. A bunch of knives in me, in a wood block through a white shirt, um, a mask that made me look like a like reject from Kiss, um, sitting in a chair, a very obvious lawn chair, and people would walk in like a U shape, and that was it. That was it, and that was year one,
Wow.
and there was like nothing going on there, and people had a great time actually, and we did it just the one night, and we were hooked, and we did it for something like 10 years. Uh, from just that. And of course, it became much more, as you know.
Mhm.
Um, there was a couple of years of trying to figure out what that meant. We started doing themes, and then it just blew up, and we had a ball with it.
Yeah, yeah, I remember. And you guys really kind of built a following around this small thing that started off as just like your horseshoe shaped, haunt. So how did that happen?
It we were in the right place, I think, and also we filled a gap because we were trying to, there's bigger haunts
Sure.
out in the area. Phoenix is blessed with, or cursed. Cursed is the right this time of year with the big production things, which are good if you're into that sort of thing, but they're not like a I have my 6-year-old with me sort of
Right.
thing. And we really wanted to be something that was accessible for that. And so we filled an interesting gap, actually. You can bring your kid through, or they can hang out and chat with our very friendly grandpa outside, who's going to hand out candy but wants nothing to do with any of this sort of.
Right.
Um, and and so we kind of filled a weird gap. Also, we just happened to just glob onto the right social media stuff, and word of mouth, kids would come looking for us, like as we're starting to set up, like, oh, it's coming back. And they would tell their friends. And next thing you know, people are coming from, the neighborhood across the street. And as the years went on, it snowballed until the last couple of years we had like 500 people, 600 people
I
coming
remember.
through.
Yeah.
Wait times. I don't know what to do
Yeah,
with wait times. Well, I mean, it's a good thing you and I had experience with how to deal with actual wait times and
for
queuing
sure.
and things.
Yeah. Working at the science center definitely had its pluses.
Life experience.
Exactly, exactly, and working in the like a public facing job, right?
Yeah, we knew what to do.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. That's really cool. Yeah, I just remember just so many people, like even that first year that we came on with you doing the what was it? I think it was like the hotel.
Mm,
I was like a concierge and Chad was like like a busboy or somebody carrying luggage, I guess.
yeah.
We had tons of people for that one. That and I like and that was the first year we had participated and I was just shocked like oh my gosh like this tiny little thing has like a huge following and like so many people want to go through it's like it was amazing and so much fun, you know.
Yeah. I want to say we took kind of a anti haunted attraction approach because it wasn't a odd collection of horror movie themed things.
Mhm.
We just grabbed a theme. In that year it was like a hotel motel. We wanted it to be a
Yeah.
hotel, but it kind of turned into kind of a scummy uh, motel with a kitchen where you were going to get served up. And yeah, we had a front. We put together. We used cardboard, like nobody's business. Put together a little front desk. I invited my coworker to come join me, which thankfully you did. Like, hey, we put together this super weird hunt. You want to come join us?
I know, yeah.
Uh, which was great.
Oh,
And yeah, I think we even got a TV like working in that one. I think I was in a room. It was like none of our
that's
stuff
right.
was like over the top. Like
Sure.
my scare that time was being a dead guy in a motel room with like a totally not believable bed and a TV playing static again in like a lawn chair because we didn't have anything else on
Right.
hand.
Right.
Because we're doing this all like we never charged. And the
Right.
entire time we did it in 10 years, we never charged for anything. Um, Later we took donations for good causes
Mhm.
because people wanted to do stuff. And we're like, well, we don't want your money. We're doing this because we love doing this. Um, so we'll go give it to somebody else. And so that became kind of the thing um, later on. But yeah,
Sure.
like, so I'm not buying a prop chair. I'm just going to sit in whatever we've got. It's dark. You're not going to know.
Sure, exactly.
Nobody called me out on it.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that was the coolest thing about the haunt is you guys really just kind of worked with what you had. And there's a lot to be said about that. I mean, I think that goes along with like the whole sort of maker mindset, right? You guys are Halloween makers, and it's just like, well, okay, what have we got? Like, how can we put this thing together, you know?
Yeah, I think I remember that we did a haunted forest one year. I think you may
Okay.
have been with us for that one. Maybe not. Maybe
I
that was
think
the
that
year
was
before you.
before. Yeah, that
So
was the
we,
year before I came on.
okay, well, if you remember the trees that we had occasionally, those were former carpet rolls that a friend of ours had
Mm.
access to when they were done with carpeting jobs.
Okay.
And so we took those and we beat them up and we painted them to look like trees. And then we got actual tree branches and a little bit of actual soil to put
Okay.
in there in the again 2-car garage, which was now you had more of like an S shape course through the thing. We'd improved it by then,
Yeah, yeah.
and there was a big jump between like year one and year two. I think you came on about year three,
Mhm.
and yeah, year two we went like all in, and so there was a forest with trees in there. You had the carpet tubes standing up, painted like trees with actual branches, and all of a sudden everyone's thinking Wait, where are we? It smells
It
like
smells like
tree in
walls.
here.
That's amazing. And I
And
think
those
that
are
was one of the coolest things too. Like, you know, a lot of the bigger haunts, like the more commercialized ones, you know, they'll buy fog machines that have scent in it, or you know, they really work with the atmosphere. But you guys kind of had that figured out without, you know, having any experience in in the
yeah.
greater commercial haunt world.
Yeah, we went really kind of old school practical effect for a lot of things. Like
Mm,
what needs to be, but we knew what would be seen by the lighting because we'd test it
sure.
over and over and over again, and we'd only do the things that had to, had to be done based off what you see. One of my favorites, and one of the ones where I got the best scares, uh, was in that same one. Actually, I was part of a cave, so my character was a face, ghostly face in a cave.
Mm.
I'm literally in a wall of black plastic with my face cut out into it, sitting with just a plain white mask with some bugs tacked onto it, like hot glue city here. And we out of craft paper made rocks and like a foam noodle so somebody wouldn't like whack their head going down into the cave. Uh, and it's just black light, glowing bugs, whatever, and a face and multiple faces on the wall. And I would just move, and that was enough. But
Wow.
uh, it was because of setting up. We were really big on setting like the tone.
Yeah,
Like every time when we were planning, it was always about, okay, what's this one gonna feel like? We did the Western one. It was like,
that
well,
was a lot of fun.
we want it to be browns. We wanted to take cues from other media, but not in the same way. Like we'll take the color cues from. We want it to be brown. We want everything. It's gonna feel like it's gonna give you tetanus. Is like the
Yeah,
idea,
right. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That was the goal in there. And so we drew inspiration from everything, video games, movies. But we wanted to grab the feeling.
Yeah,
We didn't have the budget for, the actual stuff,
sure.
but we can make you feel it.
Yeah, for sure. And it was kind of cool too how so much of like from the year before might make a cameo appearance the next years and after, where you know we kind of recycled a lot of the props and the sets and kind of reused it in new and interesting ways. And like that's another big maker thing, like, you know, keep everything. Like, gosh, I'm such a pack rat. Like, you don't want to see my office right now. Like, we're in the set area.
This is the
My
cone of
desk,
cleanliness, right?
oh my gosh, right? Like, this side of the room is trashed. um, but
You're
yeah, it's a thing, you
definite
know?
maker.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you wind up keeping and hoarding all this stuff because I mean, you kind of do. You like eventually use it for stuff. So
Yeah. Oh, if we figure like the trees I mentioned made it through many years before they had to go. Um, Anything that we did buy, like animatronic prop wise, had to get a new. How we get like that witch until she just finally just fell apart, became so many characters
sure.
down the way. She was a great plant against other, you know, live actors, which we had very few live actors compared to a lot of other haunts.
That's true. Yeah.
You'd have one in a room, and there wouldn't be every single room had one. Uh,
Right. I
and
think that
and
made it a lot scarier too, because you're anticipating things, and we worked so hard on creating that atmosphere that it was very suspenseful, I think.
yeah, we had some really good fun with a lot of that, and getting to reuse things and find new ways to make it happen. Like, all right, we did Western. What do we want to do now? Okay, well, we're gonna do a classic haunted mansion. But guess what? All the bodies we built for the other thing can just get the same masks. We flipped masks inside out on the dummies to to like the bartender from the year before. I just flipped his mask out the other way, and all of a sudden now he's a ghoul for something else, and it was great. It
Yeah.
was easy.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Uh,
we had a good time.
it was a lot of fun. Like honestly, that's probably some of the most fun I've had like in a non like professional capacity. Like it really was a professional, it felt like a professional set and haunt and everything else. Um, but like we were all just doing it because we loved Halloween and kind of it was a really great kind of bonding thing like with friends and your family, and it was a really great experience. I don't know, a lot of fun.
Yeah, yeah, we definitely we made it personal, I think,
Mhm.
and a lot of things we did, and I think that's how you enjoy something that takes that much effort. We
Yeah,
started, you know, every year we started earlier and earlier. Like planning, we were talking in the spring,
yeah, I
every
remember.
year.
Yeah,
You know,
May or June, I think we started picking themes at the very least. Well,
yeah.
so when did you guys start putting together the like your very first one? How long did it take you to put that together as compared to like all the, prior years?
Yeah, yeah. Okay, so our one room you took about a day and a half, 2 days.
Okay.
We decided it like October 26th or something. Um,
Like we're just gonna do this thing and June
yeah,
go.
that's how we do things. But by the end, like we were planning out what was going to happen in pretty good detail in like April.
Oh wow. Okay.
And
Yeah.
then would share it with the rest of the team for workshopping by summer.
Yeah.
And then we, if we're building it, if we're not building it by August, something's wrong,
Something's
because
really wrong. Yeah.
that you know, that haunted house didn't stay contained to the two-car garage.
Right.
Uh, After year 4 or 5, we were building out. We started building in year 3 when you came on. We had little tents out front for like the entrance and exit. That was our way to extend out. The HOA didn't actually allow us to build permanent structure out
Okay.
front. That didn't
Oh,
count as
interesting.
decoration. So we always had to fake it. So
Mhm.
we did tents at first that we would quickly have ready to go. We'd put all the props so that they wouldn't be attached to anything.
Okay.
And then we'd quickly black plastic, throw stuff up, put tape whatever posters to the thing. And we'd be able to get away with it for like 1 or 2 nights at a time.
Okay. So it's
Uh,
just like, oh, it's a decoration. Yeah.
we found
Okay.
loopholes, and then we brought in enough happy trick or treaters that no one ever tattled on us. And we had good friends with fire marshals and things like that. Uh,
Yeah, sure, sure. Yeah.
um, but yeah, by the end, we were building like with wood, like big structures for the outside, and we'd have to save that to the last couple of weeks. So everything else inside the garage had to be done by the first or second week of October.
Right.
Um,
Yeah. I remember just the very last minute push before every show, trying to set up the framework, and figuring out how that maze was going to attach to the inside and still have Christina be able to close her garage door at night.
yeah, she's like, as long as I can close my garage, and we'd always find a way.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Sometimes it was a little tight, but yeah, we always managed it somehow.
yeah, well, and we always had issues with power,
Oh yeah.
because we would love to, because we really loved light for setting that. Light and color of light was kind of like our magic sauce. And
That's
so
true. Yeah.
anyone aspiring to do anything atmospheric, the first thing I would say is find the right color for
Mm.
your lighting. Your lighting is actually a huge part of feeling in there. You can make it feel creepy with just even the absence of a little bit of light.
Yeah, for
It's
sure.
amazing how much that does it.
Yeah, and it's interesting too because like on that point, I remember it never being like completely pitch black so that you couldn't see, because of course that's like a, safety thing. Like you don't
Yep.
want people not only not being able to see, but like I remember a couple years people taking down our walls because they just couldn't see where they were supposed to go.
Yeah,
So,
they got turned around real fast.
yeah,
Um, but no, we always used light everywhere. We were very concerned, obviously, with it being, you know, uh, with it being my mother-in-law's house. Didn't want her to get in trouble for
right.
something happening. which is why we never took anyone up on that. Hey, you should take people through the house to the backyard where the pool
Yeah,
was.
no. Yeah.
We're like, no. That's how she would say it too.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
the
I
new.
remember.
Um, and we were actually very concerned about making sure that it was as compliant with what, if we were doing this for real, as compliant with what we would want it to be. Like, we wanted you to be able to get through there if you had a wheelchair even. And
Yeah.
we
Yeah, we
actually
tried really
had a,
hard to make it ADA
yeah,
compliant.
we couldn't make it completely
Sure.
being that sort of experience, but technically we had a stick we used to make sure every walking path could accommodate something.
Yeah.
um, and we did have like accommodations were kind of a big part of it too, along with, lighting was adequate, um, because we wanted it for feel, right? We wanted
Right.
that yellowy green light to make you feel like, oh yeah, this is sickly in here. I don't
Yeah,
know
yeah.
why, but this I don't feel like everyone's like, I shouldn't touch anything in here, this is sick. Or this kind of like red looming
Red. Yeah.
stuff. We did a lot of that. And but we also were mindful of who was coming in. We tried to give kids a fair shake so they could have a good time,
Sure.
while also scaring the teenagers.
Like the obnoxious teenagers. Yeah.
Oh yeah, we scared. We didn't hold back on that, but that's what
No,
they
that's
wanted. They
true.
loved that. They
Oh
loved
yeah.
that.
It's
We
like,
tried
why
to
does
give
everybody
everyone.
go through a haunted house,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, we had a little bit for everyone, because ultimately, like I'm a chicken actually, which is the funny part of this. Is I was the easiest one to scare in the entire
Same.
haunt.
Like,
Yeah, yeah,
I
until you
will
joined
not
that. Yeah.
I don't do haunted houses. Like I will not go through it. Like I am terrified and
Yep.
it's just no, not gonna happen,
Yeah.
But it's
That's
hilarious that we all like loved making these like really scary experiences and like strange worlds.
Yeah. Well, I think it's a great creative outlet.
Yeah.
You don't think how easy it is to get into the season until you're in it. I didn't realize how much I love it until I was like, well, I know it'll scare them because I know what I'm afraid of. And
Yeah.
I'm like, it doesn't take, making an exact replica of Jason.
Right.
It doesn't actually. All you need is something standing where I didn't expect it, and I'm already out of my skin and down the road here. So
It's so
silence is
true.
worse than whatever jingle. Um, so we learned a lot of lessons from that, but also being scared of haunted houses helped make a good haunted house.
I think so too. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Oh my gosh, those are so fun. And it was really funny too because it almost became a game. Like all of us were pretty, you know, we all knew that most of us were kind of freaked out to be in there, but there were still these times where, we'd pull a fast one and, like try and scare each other. But
Oh
yeah, it
yeah,
was hilarious, hilarious pranks.
it was always good. I had to be on my toes, and I started being one of the ones that would start scaring people as a way
Right,
to
right.
preempt it. Um, it was yeah, it was good, and it was a labor of love. We got pretty advanced by the end.
I remember, yeah.
We
We did
sourced a
some
projector and some
we
stuff to
actually
put.
didn't we do like by the end, the last one that we did, I think we had more than one projector, didn't we? We had two?
Yeah, we had two. You're right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we had one doing like the one of the Atmos effects things with like some
Right.
pictures doing some things. And then we had another one projecting like a ghost coming and
It was a
going.
ghost, yeah, with
Yeah.
I think it was like a skeleton, sort of like specter.
Yeah, it was really
Um,
cool. We had a good
oh, it was really neat. Yeah.
like non-reflective sort of wall that you put together like a fabric thing for it, and
Yeah.
that was really cool. So we got advanced. We started like really disguising it too. We put in a drop ceiling
Oh,
with
yeah, that's right.
it started out as cardboard, and then a friend of mine who has a connection to construction actually got us some decent board to do some things with, and so we were able to have all of our stuff really like was able to travel this fake ceiling for us,
Right.
to hide, because the biggest like endeavor was hiding the magic, you know. How do
Right.
we hide the cables? How do we hide the stuff?
That was getting really, really tricky towards the end there.
Yeah.
I remember at the end of the night, we had to go through and make sure everything was shut down and turned off and the projectors were cooled down. And some of the stuff, like, it was really kind of tricky to get in there without, knocking the projector down or,
Oh yeah.
taking out like a power strip and 10 other fog machines or something.
Oh yeah. We had this like little cone in the middle where the light and the garage door opener lived, that could
Sure.
never, nothing could happen there. With the exception of the year where we did the haunted lab and I was in there, so I was at risk of unplugging everything anytime I breathed. Um, which is great. That was a year I was playing a lot of Dead Space, and so I'm like, I want to do a lab, and I want to do it really like decrepit and stuff, and we did that, and
That was a really fun one.
it was
I
we have to do some
Yeah,
good
like
stuff.
yeah, that one I decided to do some really crazy makeup. And that was the
Oh yeah,
first time that I'd ever done like face paint makeup. But it was just like, no, I want to do this. Like this is going to be really freaking scary and I think it's going to be awesome and whatever. And like I had no freaking clue what I was doing at all. And
it turned out
somehow
so
it
cool.
turned out, right? So I don't know, like maybe that's another like maker thing, like just sort of a fearlessness and wanting to try and do everything.
I
I
think
don't
that
know.
is, be willing to wing it, be like, we're gonna do this. Also, we put you in like basically an aquarium
Yeah.
made out of plastic. It was a
Plastic.
suffocation danger. Uh like, because yeah, you were in like this like false aquarium thing, which was only big enough for you. There was no way
There was
anyone else could
really no
fit in
space
it.
in that. Yeah.
And because we used some leftover from previous lab stuff, because we had jars up all over that room when you were coming in to set the scene of,
Yeah. I think I
you know
might, so I was working at the science center lab at the time and I think we might have like borrowed a few things
oh yeah,
for those couple of nights and kind of silently returned it. So
yeah, it was all
anyway,
good. We
it was
also
all good.
learned the
We did
joy
make
of
a thing.
highlighters too.
Oh,
Highlighters
the
glow bright.
highlighters. That's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was a fun thing. They glow like the Dickens. It
Yes.
turns out. So we had a lot of every color too was doing so good. We had a lot of fun with that,
That was
and
a
that was
lot
some
of
of the
blacklight stuff that year that we were experimenting with.
everything was glowing as much as we could, and that
Yeah.
was fun. Um, and that was some of the like fun little mini projects that we could do leading up to it. Like I remember the experiments of like, okay, this is gonna be a jar of this. We're gonna eat dinner, and we're gonna play with this until something looks like how we want it. And we did it, and it was fun. And those stayed glowing, or stayed like ready to glow from then until we launched.
Yeah, which was crazy. Like some of it, I think, weren't we just messing with like breaking open glow sticks and
Mm.
I don't know. Like it was kind of nuts, but yeah, that was like a whole other kind of a real experiment that was leading into like this fake lab. But it was kind of fun. It was really fun. It's like we don't know what this is gonna do, but hey, let's try it anyway.
Yeah, it was great. The experimenting part was fun, because there was definitely a more scientific way to approach all of this. We weren't
Probably.
breaking we weren't
All
breaking
the
new ground.
engineers out there are just like looking at this video and be like cringing, like, oh my gosh, you guys gonna what? Like
Yeah.
with your electrical or
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. There's some electrical engineers that would have fainted if they'd seen some of the things we were doing. Like,
yeah.
like power strips aren't meant to do that.
you,
They're
you
also not load bearing,
plugged,
so
right?
not that kind of
Daisy
load.
chaining power strips. Is this a good idea? Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, I've heard you can chain them forever. That's all I know.
Oh my gosh, yeah. We did some crazy stuff like that. So, like, out of all of the different haunts that we did, do you guys have a favorite?
Um, so Camille's favorite is the Wild West one, the zombie western.
That was really good.
Um, we did so much detail in that one
That
because
really was detailed.
it was
Yeah.
amazing. You came in through a general store that we decked out reusing anything we could come up, from real and antique food things to just manufactured.
It was like
Um,
raiding the, like the dollar store and like thrift stores and stuff,
oh
to
yeah,
check that out.
including grandparents things like, do you have any of this stuff? We need this. I need I need to find an actual flour sack. I need somebody to give me this. Um, and then into a saloon, which we decked out with my mother-in-law's bottle collection.
Oh yeah.
Made a
That was
bar.
my area. Yeah.
Mm,
And just that was so
yeah,
cool.
yeah. You were
The
chasing
bar
people.
was beautiful. Yeah.
It required knee pads, if I remember right.
Yeah,
It
because
was,
I
it
had to
was
crawl out from under a table or something. I don't know why that became a thing. Like twice in a row. That one and like the haunted mansion one that we did
yeah.
towards
You were
the
under the
end there,
table
where I was,
there.
yeah, I decided, and the other one I was like under a bed on a sliding dolly. And that
Yeah,
year I think I broke my hand actually, like sliding out, and I didn't realize it. Like
yeah.
I never went in like to the hospital or ER, urgent care or whatever, because I didn't realize it was broken. But like later I was like, oh, there's a bump there. I think I broke my hand that night.
You were going for it, you know. Well, you know,
We did
this
some
is
crazy stuff.
safety was there. But yeah, that one was good. You ended up going through. We reused part of the cave from previous years
Okay.
to go through the mine shaft area until you came to
Right.
our fake hanged man scene where somebody was pretending they were a
Oh,
hanged
right.
dummy, and then he came out and chased him out the rest of the way. Um, I don't remember where I was. I did something. It was cool. I loved it.
And it was
Um,
cool.
I don't. All of them are my favorite. Because I put a lot of myself into all of them. Um, I
Yeah.
do have, I have to say, there was one, and I can't remember exactly what year. It was one iterate. We've done the Haunted Mansion multiple times.
Sure.
We have a love for the Disneyland Haunted Mansion. We have a love for that sort of Victorian vibe. So we did a lot of that. And there was a particular dinner scene, and it was interesting in kind of our typical like anti-haunted house fashion. It wasn't like a gross out dinner scene. There was just a couple people hanging out. I was the butler, just sitting, just standing there as statuey as I could. And that was it. Like, people were so distracted by like, this looks like real food. It wasn't real food. Just gonna throw that out there. But it was made to smell like real food because we actually put it with like dinner the night before.
Oh, that's
Like, while we
hilarious.
were doing it, we kept it with like the leftovers and stuff, and like got it so it kind of like, being plastic food and stuff and like
Oh my
paper
God.
stuff, it absorbs a lot of the smell.
Yeah, yeah,
So it was
yeah.
like, there's a meal sitting here. It's like either pizza or something else. But um and then I would, I was standing by one of our other animatronic things, and I just started moving and people started running, and it was great. Um, although, special shout out because you made an actual like dragon head for us too, which
Oh,
was
that was the dragon year.
top notch. Yeah, because it was like a haunted castle sort of thing, and
Right, right.
that was top notch.
Thanks.
Like,
That was another one of those things where I had zero idea of how to actually make it. And I was actually inspired by a paper mache artist on YouTube. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try this technique of mixing fabric and Elmer's glue, and draping it over wads of paper and see where this takes me. And that it actually turned out not half bad. I wish, like looking back on it now, I kind of wish that I had painted it a different color. You don't think of these things like in the heat of the moment, right? Like, and even with all the planning and everything else, like it was like up to the wire getting this thing done. Because
yeah,
all of us had real jobs at the time. Like
right,
we were
yeah,
all doing this stuff, after we got home from work, like, having dinner. It's like, okay, I gotta crack this thing out, so
or
that
make a
took,
dragon head tonight.
yeah, right, right. And that took over our entire kitchen table. Like it was a mess. So like I had plastic down on the floor. And I think Chad probably wanted to kill me, but like, yeah, it was a mess.
It was
But
fun.
yeah, and I just wish I had painted a different color. Like in the dungeon and stuff, it was really dark. Like that area we kind of made dark. It was illuminated by some green lights to make it look like a sewer, I think was like
Yeah,
the
you
idea
were
there.
escaping the
Yeah,
sewer
yeah, yeah,
there.
yeah. So you had to
Yeah.
go through the sewers. And so it was kind of bluey green, and the dragon head was like a dark blue.
Yeah, did not come together
It
that way,
just
but
didn't, yeah, it should have been like red or like any other color. I don't know.
we could have got away with a yellow in there, you know? You never know.
Yeah, 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 yeah. I don't know.
Color added.
Live and
But you know
learning.
what? It was another one of those magic things. It was the last scare on the exit.
It's true. Yeah.
So honestly, you could have just said "see you later" and everyone still would have ran.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Or, Camille might have come up from like the dungeon area behind and, chased them out. But,
Oh yeah,
that was
it's
because that was a favorite thing to do too.
we like to chase people out. It was fun. Sometimes we had to. Sometimes we literally
Yeah.
the one where you were stuck in the aquarium. People almost didn't make it in. Most of them actually. We had a lot, but we also had that cool idea for that one. Like the whole premise for the lab, other than me playing Dead Space a lot, just to take up more time here, but um, I really wanted the effect of going through into like a clean room kind of thing. So I wanted
Oh,
fog to
right.
drop down
Yeah.
on people.
Oh, right. We
So we
used
did set up the fog machine with an ice box to like do the cold fog thing because none of the low foggers we got actually did what they said they were going to do.
I
So
know, yeah, and that's a
they're all
thing
terrible.
too. Like, you're paying a lot of money, and they're not that expensive, but they didn't work any differently than a regular fog machine.
It was all
So
the same. Yeah. No
we
matter
had
how
to
much.
kind of like innovate this way of making the fog sink, and that was it. Bucket of
Yeah.
dry ice and and
Yeah.
lots of
And
tubing.
it worked.
Yeah, worked really well actually, because I think I had one above the plant thing too, and it
Mhm.
was pouring fog down into the terrarium.
Yeah.
So that was kind of neat.
It turned out so good. It
That was
really did.
great. Yeah, that was a lot of
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. It would be, you know, it would be something not to, it'd be sad not to mention too. Like we ended up raising quite a bit of money and a lot of great donations for um, Child Crisis Center out in Mesa, and also um, a few other uh, organizations that provided for children and for homelessness and those that needed it. Because while the rest of us were enjoying a cool holiday where you can get free candy, other people had other things to worry about. And at the same time, Camille and I were becoming foster parents in the middle of all of the
That's
stuff.
right.
And so, we were like, if we're going to do this, we're going to put, you know, all of this reach we've got to as much of a goodwill effort as we can,
Yeah.
because yeah, we're not getting paid for it, but we didn't want to, like I said. So that last year we had something like 800 pounds of clothing donation. We measured it in pounds because
Wow.
boxes got absurd. um, Another like 400 pounds of food, and I don't know, like I don't remember how much on the money. It wasn't as much. People gave us a lot of stuff, which is what they were asking for
Right,
at the
right.
time. And so we did a lot of good um, with that. So
Yeah.
we had a lot of fun. We scared a lot of people. And I think we made a little bit of an impact. So
I'd say
check.
so. Yeah, yeah. I mean, that was one of the things that always struck me as I think the best part of those haunts, like all of those years, it was always for charity. We weren't getting paid to be a part of your house as actors or makers or architects of the space. Like we all love Halloween, and we were doing this because it was freaking awesome and it was fun, and we got to make stuff for giggles. you
Yeah,
know
right. We would have done it anyway, right?
exactly, yeah. So I mean, the fact that we could do it for a cause and really help out a lot of people just made it that much better. Like, And it was pretty incredible too. Like you guys got a lot of publicity, I think, through what Gamage I think advertised for you, and then the AZ Haunters group, local haunted house Halloween group here. It's pretty awesome. Yeah.
Yeah,
They gave you
yeah,
got lot of press.
yeah, we did pretty good. We ended up getting listed among the other big haunted houses. The last 4 or 5 years, you'd
You're
see
still on one of those sites, by the way.
I bet they're begging. I get calls, asking if we need, some of the supplies and things like that we used to, and when we're opening back up, and I have to break the bad news.
Yeah.
It is something that we would love to come back to. And it was awesome to get listed among like Fear Farm and 13th
13th floor.
Floor and all
Yeah.
these other like, and AZ Scream Park, all these like big ones, that always did so much, and they did it so different than we did.
Yeah, for
So
sure.
to be listed among them, like on like a channel, some news list out, these are where you go in the valley or whatever, and if it wasn't for, you know, times in our lives changing, we'd still be doing it
Mhm.
this season. Like we'd be doing it right now. Um, and maybe we will again someday. Because once you do it, you kind of have to find a way to scratch that itch. It's
Yeah.
something else. I know it's killing you guys not doing
I
this right
really
now.
miss it. And you know what's really stupid though? Like we have a great front yard, which we could 100% deck out and do Halloween things. And I don't know why, but we never have. Like every year I'm just like, I'm gonna do it this year, and then it never happens for I don't know why. Like I think part of it is it's just us. Like the motivation was working with like being with friends and like fellow makers. I think that's a part of the whole making experience is the community and the connections that you make, and working together to solve this problem, or I guess project, in the form
Yeah,
of a haunted house.
yeah. I mean, yeah, I think I tip my hat to those that can do it solo, that do the big yard builds and all that stuff. I
Yeah.
think those are amazing efforts. But I'm with you there. When it's just me, I'm like, I don't know. I'm gonna put a spider out there and see what happens. I don't. It's not the same
Yeah.
as when you're doing it with the camaraderie that comes with the, you know, we were doing it with friends. We did it with we became family. We
Yeah.
were very very close doing that, and we did expand the group as we went, but the core really was what was important there. um Although everyone who helped us with that I love, so it's
Aw.
fine. Like I it
I
was
just
it,
it was a great thing. It wasn't always making either. I mean, we just like get together, have dinner. It was like it's like we were like a really big extended family, doing
yeah,
the thing. It was really cool.
yeah,
Definitely something special.
eat pizza and figure out why that witch's voice box just quit working. We don't know.
Well, and the Duchess too said some really strange things,
Oh
or
my
made
gosh.
weird
Oh,
noises.
I'll send you some pictures of her. She's she's not aged well. Uh,
Oh no.
it is. Take care of your vinyl and latex masks,
Oh
everybody, as you would your own face. The Arizona heat is not kind. Uh, a decade in a garage will do some wonders.
Oh no. Actually, I can speak to that as well. The dragon head has no, like, our house is pretty tiny. You've seen it before. So I've kept the dragon head in the back of my car this entire time, and Arizona heat is definitely not friendly that way. So I made all of the teeth for whatever reason, like the teeth and some of the horns, out of thermoplastic, that you like put in hot water and it shapes like putty. I went
yeah.
out there a couple of days ago and was cleaning out some stuff from the back, and I found a puddle of molten plastic like right underneath the dragon head. I'm like, that was your teeth, wasn't it, buddy?
Oh man.
So yeah, Arizona heat, man, it's no joke.
Uh,
Well, cool. So I don't want to like you've been really generous with your time. I don't want to, take too much more of your time, but would you have any other like advice or, that you'd want to pass on to other makers who want to try this out?
Uh, yeah, I think the advice from doing it for so long would be just start. It sounds super cliche. Like we started with the most humblest of beginnings, but we just tried things. Like that little cemetery I started with, the lights, the stars shining down of it was from the garage light that had black plastic in front of it. Like, try out your idea. Don't worry if it doesn't work out. And also remember, most of the mistakes you make will be ones you'll notice and no one else will. Uh, and if it does, just turn down the lights a little bit more, and then you'll see. Fog fixes everything.
Fog
Um,
fixes everything.
that was like our motto.
That
Um,
total I remember that. Yeah, just like turn that thing up a little. Awesome. Awesome. Well, cool. Thank you so much for agreeing to do this vlog with me. And
yeah,
I hope that you guys have a great Halloween. And yeah, I guess we'll see you around. It looks like we got a cameo here from your black Halloween cat.
yeah. She figured it was good to be here. Timely.
Very cool. All right, cool. Thank you, Mike. This has been incredible.
Yeah, cool. Happy to be here. Happy to help, and happy Halloween.
Awesome. Thank you.